Good morning. I see the other people are learning, studying for Monday. I hope this will help a little bit. Let's look at, we are doing question 3. This one, 2 and 3, 2 is cash flow and some ratios. And question 3, analysis. Quickly going to look at that. So they start off question 2 with 3, they call it appetizers, 3 easy marks. The use of loans to finance a company is known as? When we talk about loans, it has to do with your gearing. The ability of the business to pay off all debts has to do with solvency, and the effective control of income and expenses is a reflection of the profitability. All right, so that's 3 easy marks. Then they say Long Dive Limited. Now, referred to the information relates to the financial year ended 28 February. Referred to information A. Now, information A is a fixed assets note. Normally, the first one is an easy one where they give you land and buildings, the opening balance and the closing balance, and you have to calculate the purchases or the disposal. Like in this case, they gave us the vehicles, the opening, the cost and the accumulated depreciation. So to get the carrying value, you have to say 2640 minus the 990,000, and that will give you 1,650,000. So that was 2 easy marks. Then number 2 is the disposal at carrying value. And we said when we want to calculate that disposal at carrying value, if they give us the carrying value at the beginning and the end, then you do your note, your movements. All right, but in this case, they give you information. They say an old vehicle was sold at carrying value. The cost price of the vehicle was 286 and its accumulated depreciation. So whenever you get that question where they ask you to calculate the carrying value, or they ask you to calculate the profit or the loss, you always do. When we did asset disposal, we said we always do this table. We have cost, depreciation, accumulated depreciation, and carrying value. Always do that. It makes it so much easier. They say the cost price of the vehicle was 286 and the accumulated depreciation was 192,000. And that was at the beginning of the year, on the 1st of March. So at that stage, the carrying value was 94,000. Our carrying value was 94,000. And now they say we sold it on 30 November. So our depreciation, accumulated depreciation is not up to date. So we still have to calculate our depreciation for the period till 30 November. And they say depreciation is calculated at 20% on the carrying value. So we take the 94,000 times 20%. From the 1st of March till 30 November, so it's March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. It's 9 months. I will just a second, I will tell you now. The question was, where do we get the carrying value? What did we do here to calculate the carrying value? Cost price minus accumulated. So cost price minus accumulated will give you the carrying value. All right. And on the carrying value, we have to calculate the depreciation for 9 months. It's important to count your months correctly. So that will give you 14,100. So my cost always stays the same, 286. My depreciation, 14,100. Accumulated, 206,100. and then my carrying value will be 79,900. And this is the figure that they wanted. Remember when we did asset disposal, we had that steps. We said that was step 1, 2, 3, 4 was the sales, and 5 was the profit or loss, and then we said 6 is the one that we use in your fixed assets note. So if they say it was sold at carrying value, so it was sold for 79,900. You did not make a profit or a loss. All right. So when they ask you that number 2, always do this. If they said it was cost price method, you would say 286 times 20 times 9 over 12. All right. You will see the memos. They will just say on the memo, they will say 286 minus 192 plus 14,100. But if you do it like this, you will get it right. You will get your marks. All right. So your answer is at 79,900. And then number 3, they want us to calculate the depreciation of equipment. And they say the additional equipment was purchased on the 1st of September and equipment is depreciated at 10% on the cost price. All right. So let's start with the old, our old equipment. We have 660,000 times 10%. Those we had for the whole year. And that will give you 66,000. But what do we see? Can we use the 66? No, because our carrying value is only 30,000. So our carrying value is 30,000, which is less than the 66,000. So we can only subtract 1 rand so that we can only write off 29,999. All right. So always remember, when you calculate your, especially when they ask only you to calculate the depreciation, always check your carrying value. Because if you write off 66,000, your carrying value will be a negative figure, which cannot happen. So we just subtract 1 rand from the carrying value. And then we had new equipment. The new equipment that we bought was 156,000. We also write off 10%. We bought the new equipment on the 1st of September. So we had it for 6 months. For 6 months. And that will give you 7,800. So our depreciation will be the 29,999 plus the 7,800. And that will give you 37,799. All right. Questions on the depreciation carrying value? Everybody happy with that? All right. Let's look at the next part of the question. (2.2.2). Now remember here, they say calculate the following amounts for the cash flow statement. So they don't give you the cash flow statement. So here the brackets is not that important. It's only a calculation. But it's always good to say if a figure was paid in the cash flow, put it in brackets. Just keep on doing that. So we want to do the income tax paid. Income tax paid. So what do we do if we want to calculate income tax paid? What do we do? No. We do the T account. Don't do that opening balance or balance at the beginning, the note, that one that's in your textbooks. Don't do that. Because when you look at this, you will see a debit and a credit balance. And what do you do with a debit and a credit balance? Most learners, they see debit and credit and they subtract those two figures because they see debit and credit. And now if you look at the account, if you draw the SARS account, don't leave this out. Always do your SARS account, always. They say our opening balance was a debit balance of 18,800. So our balance was 18,800. Our income tax was 288,000. So our income tax is on the credit side, 288,000. And our closing balance was a credit balance of 29,550. Now credit balance is there, 29,550. So that means our balance above the line is there. So when we do the calculation, everything that's on the credit side, we put in brackets. We say that's our minus. So if we want to calculate the income tax paid, we will say 18,800 minus 288 plus 29,550. And that will give you 239,650. And it's good to put it in brackets because you've paid that. So you can say opening balance, if it's a debit, it's that, and if it's a credit, and if you get confused in the exam, there's no way that you can rectify it. You don't know what to do. If you do the account, if it starts with a credit balance and ends with a debit balance, what does that mean? If we start with a credit balance, it will be there, and it ends with a debit balance, it will also be there. So what do we see now? All three figures will be in brackets. You see, if we start with a credit and end with a credit, that balance would be on that side. So those two figures would be in brackets and that one would be without brackets. So always draw your SARS account. It's 4 easy marks. 90% of the learners, 90%. I can promise you at the end of the year, 90% of the learners don't get that right because they see debit and credit and they subtract the two figures. All right. So always make sure that you draw the account. Then they want the dividends paid. Now, again, for dividends paid, there's a note. Balance at the beginning year, dividends for the year, and balance at the end of the year. I never do that. What did we pay? The first thing we always pay is the shareholders of last year, the opening balance. We always pay that. So if we look at this question, we see our shareholders for last year was 190,000. So that's the first thing that we pay. We write it down, the 190,000. And then we also pay our interim dividends. So it's only those two things. Balance at the beginning of the year or the end of last year and our interim dividends. Now, what do they say about the interim dividends? They say an interim dividend of, they don't give us the amount, was paid on 31st of August. A final dividend was declared and total dividends for the year amounted to 585. So now, in this case, where do we put our dividends normally? In which note in the balance sheet do we put our dividends? Retained income, am I right? And in the retained income note, we have our dividends, we have paid and declared, all right? So now they say the total dividends, was 585,300. They do not give us the interim dividend, the one. Here is a question mark. And then they say a final dividend was declared. What was our final dividend? How much was the final dividend? That 332,500. Am I right? That 332,500. So what is our dividends paid during the year? The difference between those two, and that is 252,800. That's your balancing figure. All right. So what did we pay? We paid last year's, the dividends that we declared at the end of last year, and we paid the 252,800. So in total we paid 442,800. We paid, so we can put it in brackets. Yes.
The dividends from interest, dividends from last year. Which one is it? The declared or
the declared one? Remember when we started with the ledger accounts of companies, they would say to you, your shareholders for dividends. Your shareholders for dividends had a balance. So in this case, they said that balance is 190,000. And then the first transaction would be you pay your dividends. You pay SARS and you pay dividends, you remember. So we will have bank 190,000. All right. And then in the middle of the year, they said you would pay an interim dividend. So if you pay an interim dividend, in our dividends, we will have bank. And in this case, it was that 252,800. And then at the end of the year, they would declare a dividend. Then they would say shareholders for dividends. The shareholders would be 332,500. So there would be dividends 332,500. So what will be to my appropriation account? My appropriation account would go that 585,300. Am I right? That's my total dividends. And this balance, this 332 would be our shareholders' balance at the end of the year. So if you do the note, you would say the opening balance plus the dividends minus the closing balance. Am I right? So you add the closing balance and then you subtract it again. So that's why I don't use that. I only look for two things. I look for the opening balance and my interim dividends. And that's the two things that you pay. So sometimes, in this case, you had to calculate that interim dividend. Sometimes they will say to you, at the end of the year, a dividend of 20 cents per share was paid in the year, and at the end of the year, a dividend of 25 cents. So then you have to calculate that 25 cents and then just subtract it again. So that's a waste of time. So you only pay two things. You pay your opening balance and you pay your interim dividend. And then you know it's paid, so it must be in brackets. All right. Okay. So that's dividends paid. When we get to the next question, complete the net change in cash and cash equivalents. What did we say is important there? If they ask that, there will always be what? Bank overdraft and cash. Maybe cash and bank overdraft, or only bank overdraft and only cash. One of them. There will be somewhere there will be an overdraft. Because why? Learners just check the cash and then they do it. Always make sure that you have the. So when they ask that question, I always write cash at the beginning, cash at the end, and our change. Sometimes I give it to you like that, sometimes I just give a block. So whether, doesn't matter. Cash at the beginning, cash at the end, and your change. So what is our cash at the beginning? If we look at our cash, we see at the beginning of the year we had 6,000 petty cash and a 69,000 debit balance. So that means it's a positive. Am I right? So at the beginning, we had 6,000 plus 69,000. So that gives us a positive 75,000. Positive 75,000. At the end of the year, we had petty cash of 9,000. 9,000. But now we have an overdraft or a credit balance. That means an overdraft of 111,800. So we subtract that 111,800. And if you subtract that one, you get a negative 102,800. So now remember, from a positive 75 to a negative 102, we have to add those two figures. All right. So we will get 177,800. 177,800, and that will be in brackets. Yes. Remember, in grade R, you had that just before you started school. You remember you have 0 is here, and plus 1, and plus 2, and plus 3, and there you have minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. So from plus 2 to minus 3, it is 5. Am I right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's the same here. From a positive 75 from that side to this side, you first have to get to 0, and then you still have to get to the minus 102. So we add those two figures. If they were positive figures, from 75 to 102, we would just subtract the two figures to get that 27. All right. Both negative, it would be a negative 27. But if one is positive and the other one is negative, you have to add the two together. All right. All right, let's stop there. Remember our cash flow. If we have, if they ask you to do the cash flow from investing activities has to do with investing, fixed deposit and fixed assets. And fixed assets you can either purchase or you can dispose or sell. All right. And financing activities, financing, your shares and your loan. Shares you can issue or you can repurchase, and in the shares repurchase, it's the full amount, the average plus the extra amount. All right. And the loan can either be paid or increased. All right. So that's a format of the cash flow statement. Make sure that you know that. All right. Any questions on this? Nothing. Question 2 for me is the easiest question of the whole paper, because it's the same. Every time they ask dividends paid, SARS paid, just one thing. The other thing that we have to remember when we do fixed assets, purchased or disposed. Just let me just quickly wipe this. Remember, when we get to the investing activities and they want to ask you, they will ask you either to calculate the purchases of the fixed assets or the disposal. Now, normally that figure has a total of 5 marks, and then learners just they take their carrying value at the beginning and the end of the year and they subtract those two. You won't get 5 marks for that. All right. So we do the movements. So we have the carrying value, we have addition, we have disposal, we have depreciation, and we have our carrying value. So the opening, let's say the opening balance is 1 million. Our addition is 200,000. Our disposal is 150,000. And our depreciation is 50,000. So that means our carrying value at the end will also be 1 million. All right. So normally what they do, they leave that one out. So you will say 1 million plus 50 minus 200 minus 1 million. Am I right? And if they leave that one out, the end balance, end of the year, plus the depreciation, plus the disposal, minus the opening balance to get that figure. All right. So remember, when you see either disposal or purchase, do that. And you will get 4 of the 5 figures and you just calculate the other figure. The loan, when we get the loan, you just get the difference between the two balances. There's nothing there. All right. Let's look at question number 3. Now remember, question 3, sometimes they will give you 2 companies and you have to compare them. And sometimes they will give one company with 2 years figures. Sometimes they will give both companies with 2 years and then it's a lot of figures. All right. In this case, they say there's 2 companies, Candy Limited and Cola Limited. Who wants to invest money in one company? When answering the questions below, compare the information given and quote the relevant financial indicators with percentages, ratios, and or amounts for both companies. So when we answer this question and we use, let's say, debt equity, we must give the ratio for both companies. Except if they only ask you, calculate or comment on the debt equity of Candy Limited. Then you only use that one. All right. So now they say, Shadow is of the opinion that Candy Limited has the better control over its net current assets and liquidity. So if they talk about net current assets and liquidity, we know we will use what? Current ratio, asset test, stock holding, debtors collection, creditors payment, and turnover rate. All right. So we can see from those, if you know that, then to answer this question is actually very easy. We first look at the current ratio. We see that Candy Limited is 1,9 to 1 and Cola Limited is 0,8 to 1. So which one is the better one? Candy, am I right? The asset test ratio, Candy is 0,8 to 1, Cola is 0,3 to 1. Again, Candy is better. Stock turnover rate, Candy 6 times a year, Cola only 4 times a year. So Candy is better. Debtors collection, Candy 30 days, Cola 39 days. So Candy is better. And the creditors payment are the same. So you can't use creditors payment. Am I right? So you can use any one of those, or 2 of those, 4. And you just write, current ratio of Candy Limited is 1,9 to 1, where Cola Limited's ratio is 0,8 to 1. All right, then you will get full marks. All right. So when you get this list of information, this ratios and percentages, if you have a highlighter, highlight all the liquidity figures, highlight risk and gearing, highlight your returns, then you know you will use the correct figures. The next question, number 3, this is an interesting question. Number 2, comment on the degree of risk and gearing of both companies. So we want the risk and the gearing. Risk is what? Debt equity. All right, the debt equity. So if we look at the debt equity, we see debt equity of Candy Limited is 1,2 to 1 and Cola is 0,4 5-1. So what do we see? Candy Limited has a high risk because their debt is more than their equity, where Cola has a low risk because their equity is more than the debt. All right. So you can just say Candy Limited has a high risk and Cola is a low risk. And the gearing, for gearing we look at return on capital employed. Remember, you can write ROTCE. You can use that in your answer. You don't have to write everything out. So you will say return of capital employed of Candy Limited is 18.1% and Cola Limited is 10.3%. Now remember, gearing, we compare the return with our interest rate on the loan. So Candy has a positive gearing. Am I right? Candy has a positive gearing because the return on capital employed is better than interest rate on the loan. They say the interest on the loan is 13%. And for Cola, we will say they have a negative gearing. A negative gearing because the interest, the return is lower than the interest rate on the loan. And that's 8 marks, easy marks. When they talk about a loan, when they talk about a risk or gearing, those two will always be in your answer. All right. The next question. She's of the opinion that earnings per share of Candy Limited of 520 cents is actually better than the 690 cents of Cola Limited. So she says the return, the earnings per share of 520 cents is better than the 690 cents. Is that possible? If I say to you, company A, the return is 520 cents, and company B, the return is the earnings per share is 690 cents, and I tell you that company A is doing better, is that possible? Not if you only look at the earnings per share. But if you look at what the cost of a share is, then the picture changes. So if we look, we can use either the net asset value or we can use the market price. I think it's better to use the market price. So if we say the earnings per share of Candy, if we put that earnings per share, the 590 cents, on the market price, which is 650 cents, and we calculate the percentage, then we get,
So where did I do that to?
62, which I just want to see, 500, and I just want to make sure that I use the correct one. You get 80%. For Candy, we get 80%. So we put the earnings per share, the 590, we put, was it 520? Well, now Candy was 520 and the market price was 650. So 520 on the 650, and that gives us 80%. For Cola, if we put their earnings per share was 690 cents. And we put that on the market price, which is 1,200 cents. We get 57.5%. So if we take that into consideration, the 520 is better, right? You can also put it on the net asset value. So you can put it on the market price or the net asset value to calculate. You must just, if you use market price for one, you must use market price for both. If you use net asset value, you must use it for both. All right. So remember when we started with in grade 10, you calculated the return of the business, the return on capital. And we would put your net profit on the capital. If I have two businesses and the one makes a profit of 200,000 and the other one makes 200,000, they're actually doing the same. Am I right? But if the capital for the first business was 1 million and the capital for the second business was 5 million, business A did better. And that is what we did here. All right. Then comment on the value of the shares. If they talk about value of the shares, we always compare two things: market price and net asset value. Always market price and net asset value. So if we look at Cola, the market price, Cola's market price, which is 650 cents, and the net asset value is 780 cents, is less than the net asset value of 780 cents. What does that mean? The market is not willing to pay the price of what the shares are worth. Because your market price is less than the net asset value, it means there's a low demand for that shares. The investors are not willing to buy it. They see something is wrong. All right. So there's a low demand, or no demand for shares. You can just write that. No demand for shares. No demand for the shares. And for candy, that was candy, sorry, not Cola. That was candy. For Cola, our market price was 1,200 cents, is more than the market price. The net asset value, sorry. The net asset value of 1,100 cents. So what does that mean? The investors are willing to pay more than what the share is actually worth. Therefore, there is a demand for the share. There is a demand for the share. There is a demand for the shares. Comment, yeah. So, which one would you like to invest? Cola, all right, because the market tells you it's actually a better company than the Candy Limited, all right. Compare and comment on the dividend payout policies. Now, normally, or sometimes they will give you the dividend payout, right? In this case, they did not. So we first have to calculate. We have to calculate the dividend payout rate. So let's quickly look. Candy and Cola. Dividend payout rate is how much of your profits do you distribute to your shareholders. So you take your dividends, the 130 cents, and you put it on your earnings per share, 520 cents, and you calculate the percentage. So let me see where that is. It's 25% for candy. And for cola, our dividend per share is 690. And our earnings per share is also 690. So they give out 100% of their profits. So remember, what do we say? Candy Limited, they are holding back their profits because they want to expand. Cola Limited are distributing all their profits because they don't want to expand. Or it can be that they're doing poorly now, they want to keep their shareholders happy by giving them a big dividend. All right. But if you only remember, they retain their profits for further expansion. They distribute their profits because they don't want to expand. That's all you need to write, and then you will get full marks. All right. And the last question, apart from the points mentioned above, explain why Shadow will also look at the points below. Why will she look at the type of audit report? And if they have an unqualified report, it will be a good report, and she would feel safe to invest the money, right? Because the directors are doing a good job. If it was a qualified report or a, what's the other one? Disclaimer report, you would not want to invest because the directors are not doing a good job. All right. And the reputation of the directors, if you know the directors has a good training, they have a lot of experience, you would invest. And if it's new directors who don't know how to run a company, you would not invest in that company. All right. So I did not get to the markup and asset test ratio. Maybe we should just quickly look at those four. We have 2 or 3 minutes. Just question 2, I didn't get to them. So our markup, remember markup is our gross profit on cost of sales. All right. So our gross profit is 4.3 million. They don't give us the cost of sales, they give us the sales and the gross profit. So the 12.9 minus the 4.3. And that will give you 50%, a 50% markup. Number 2, asset test. If they say asset test, if they give you the balance sheet where they give you the current assets, then you just subtract the inventory. If they give it like this, it's your cash and debtors. So it's your debtors 970,500. They gave you the current assets there at the bottom. They gave you the current assets 1535 minus the inventory 555,500 to your current liabilities 653. And that will give you a ratio of 1,5 to 1. You don't have to write the answer of that, but don't just write the answer of that. Always rather do that and in your final answer than only the 980 or whatever it is. All right. Net asset value. What is net assets? Net assets is your assets minus liabilities, and asset minus liabilities is, what is asset minus liabilities? Owner's equity. Am I right? So net asset value is what is your owner's equity per share. So remember, there's not a what do you call it, average or something. It's on the last day. Our owner's equity, our owner's shareholders' equity was 9960. And the number of shares issued, they say there was 1 million shares issued at the end of the year. And we want it in cents, so we multiply by 100. So it's 996 cents. Or you can write, if you don't multiply by 100, you can write 9 Rand 69. They also accept that. All right. So if you multiply by 100, you want it in cents. If you don't multiply by 100, you can give it in Rand. And the return is your net profit after tax, the 612,000 over my average shareholders' equity, which is 9960 plus 8640. Multiplied by 100 because we want a percentage, and that will give you 6.6%. Is that a good return? With what do we compare that? This one we compare with your interest rate on the fixed deposit, whereas this, the other one, we compare the return on capital employed with the loans. So who's interested in the return on shareholders' equity? The shareholders, am I right? If they invested their money and did they get their return, where the return on capital employed will be the company and the banks, because they borrow money and they make money with that money that they borrowed. All right. Questions? Good luck for Monday and Thursday. Next week, what can we do next week? I think another inventory maybe. Okay.